This is the Personal Finance Show.
Hi, I'm Bo Humphreys, and this is the Personal Finance Show. Eric Arnold's personal finance story is not for the risk-averse. Eric is what you might call a serial entrepreneur. Whatever people have in their brain that prevents them from taking huge risks, yeah, Eric doesn't have that. What does this mean for Eric? Well, it means when the rest of us were working our 9-to-5s, making spreadsheets for our bi-weekly paychecks, Eric was building businesses. Some did very well and some did not. With success comes failure, but Eric learned something from every business. Today, Eric is CEO of Planswell, a company that provides free financial plans to Canadians. Planswell is doing great, having raised $13 million to date and so far providing free financial plans to over 100,000 Canadians. But a lot happened before Planswell was even an idea. Here's Eric to take us through his personal finance story.
My first real experience with money was when I was 10. I had opened a bank account to start getting paid for my paper route. And I remember being offered the opportunity to knock on people's doors and say, hey, look, as a service offering, it was called Service Plus, and it was based on having good service. They would want to buy this coupon booklet from me. And it was $5, and I got to keep $3 from each sale. And I was making 2 or 3 times more than I was making delivering newspapers just by selling these coupon booklets. So I was like hustling, knocking on doors.
This was in addition to the papers or a separate company?
This was the same newspaper.
Yeah.
They gave these coupon booklets for like Dairy Queen and stuff. They were good coupons, and you sold them. And it was a way to ask for a tip. You're like panhandling. Mm-hmm. But I was killing it. I was like, and they actually published it in the newspaper, like who had the best like Service Plus like revenue, and I was always top of the charts.
So you had this bank account. Do you remember like, did you learn about like working hard for money?
Yeah, I do. So like I'm 10 years old and I opened this account, and I'm making $25 or $30 a week from newspapers, and then I'm making an extra $60 from Service Plus sales.
Sounds like good money for 10.
It was good. Yeah, I was doing well. This was up in Aurora, delivering the Air Banner.
Okay.
And I remember my parents saying, "Look, you got to start putting away $25 a month for like saving for the future." So I ended up going. I remember being told I was getting a blue chip equity mutual fund.
You had that at 10.
That's what. That's what I
had. You added your first blue chip equity mutual fund at 10 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
And whatever, like, I mean, is there more to that? Did whatever happen to that blue chip equity mutual fund?
I put $25 a month away for years.
Yeah.
And I got it up to, I think I got up to maybe it was like $3,000 by the time I was like 15.
Okay.
And then my parents told me that they had to take the money.
Why? What?
I believe it was for a bunkhouse at the cottage.
What? This is your money.
Not anymore.
Is it your bunkhouse at least?
It was for a bunkhouse for me to sleep in, yeah.
Okay.
Because there was no room for me I was sleeping on the couch or something. So they got this cottage.
Were you like heartbroken or disappointed, or just did you understand?
I think it was embarrassing for them. I don't remember being too. I remember like feeling that this was not right. This was unjust.
Awesome.
But that was part of growing up. Like our household was always like one that would stretch for things that probably they shouldn't be buying. So that was like my family's buying a cottage that they can't afford, and a boat that they can't afford. And it wasn't like I was living in poverty. Like I was living this upper middle class lifestyle, but like it was just too much for what they could afford.
It's just a little bit too much. And I think a lot of people do that now, right?
Yeah.
People think, oh, I'm doing well. Mm-hmm. So we can get this because like we'll keep making money, and then we'll put a little bit on the card, and that'll be it. Then we'll pay it off, and
Yeah. So that was our life.
And okay. So, but you lived you had a good upbringing.
Yeah. I remember on Wednesdays, sometimes having to dig through the back of the cupboard and find like old cans of club soda to like make a lunch in some capacity to go to school. And that was because payday was on Thursday and there just wasn't groceries. And
so a paycheck to paycheck sort of situation. And so did that teach you anything? Did you learn anything from that? Like you were like, I don't want this to be me.
I think that experiencing food scarcity in any capacity, I think can have a very like impactful experience for people. I've met a lot of very successful people and kind of learned about their past and their history and growing up, and I find that there's a commonality in people who have experienced food scarcity and
something to drive them.
Yeah,
I don't want to go through this again, and there's very simple things you can do to not go through it, right?
Yep.
So why not take those steps? Like, why take the chance that you might experience that? So you had that kind of feeling instilled in you at that time? Mm-hmm. Okay, so your $3,000 is gone or whatever it was at, but you're still working as a teenager?
I worked all the way
coupon
through.
books all throughout high school or no?
I ran birthday parties through the town of Aurora and...
like you're an event promotion? Like that?
Yeah, like kids' birthday parties and summer camps and all those programs, and I taught the babysitting course, and then I started doing some more entrepreneurial stuff. I had like a driveway sealing company.
Okay. Were you 18, something like that? Or like still a teenager?
I was 16 17, around that time.
Why driveway? Like what? Like people have a bunch of cracks in their driveway and you see a problem?
I was sealing my driveway and a neighbor that I like loosely knew like walked by and he was like commenting on the driveway sealing product I was using, and he was saying, I work for this driveway sealing like manufacturer. It's called Black Knight. And he's like, I could get you a bucket of that for like $5. You should ask. And I had paid like $30 at Home Depot. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Like, that sounds like an opportunity. Mm-hmm. So it's like, how many could you get me at $5? He's like,
a whole garage worth.
As many as you need. So I started.
I don't know what's coming, but I don't know. I don't like it.
So I'm knocking on doors and I'm selling driveway sealing, and it's we're rolling it on. And
so you're doing the labor. Okay, so you're like, I'll seal your driveway, and what did you give them like a flat rate because you knew you could include the sealant in it and stuff?
Yeah, it was like $50 or whatever it was.
And like, sure.
We had all these kids doing it with me. We all had chemical burns all over our legs because we were doing it in shorts, and like we didn't know what we were doing. But
what kind of product is it?
It's like a really thick black acrylic paint.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Yeah, and you're rolling it on with rollers because all the companies out there do it with a spray.
Yeah, okay.
And we would roll it on. It would do a better job.
And was it like fumes coming up that would burn you, or like you just got
if it got on your skin and you didn't take it off right away, it would leave like red welts and stuff. And
there's probably a warning label that told you that.
Wear pants, that was probably
just wear. It just said wear pants.
It's hot out. I don't know.
In big letters on this, but okay. So that was like entrepreneurial thing. One, you made some money, but got some scars.
Yeah.
And what are you doing with this money now? Are you keeping it far away from your parents?
I was just spending
it. At this point, it's spending.
Yeah, just spending it, enjoying lifestyle. It was always important to me going through school to have like the means to do what I wanted independently of like my parents providing that. So I always worked more than my friends did, and I always had more money than my friends did, and I think I felt like a status and recognition in that.
Yeah,
that was important to me.
Did you keep doing this through to pay for school, or how did you then go to? You went to college, university.
Yeah, I worked at Starbucks for a little while, but I had another company that was an electronics liquidation company. So another opportunity, I guess, that just kind of presented where I don't remember how we actually originally met the guy, but we basically were selling Xbox 360s at the time. This was like a big thing. And I found this guy that would sell them to me for $150, and I could sell them on eBay for $250. This is like this weird warehouse by like near York University. And we were buying so many of them and selling them. And then we started to think, like, maybe we can cut this guy out. Because you go to this guy's warehouse and he has every possible thing. It's like a Best Buy has been jammed into a warehouse.
And he just has a wholesale connection that he got this stuff from? Or where does he get it
Right.
from?
So he's shipping it from Best Buy, literally, in Los Angeles. And it's coming all the way up to Toronto. And then he's liquidating it. And so we were like, we can cut this guy out. So we start looking for the same kind of sources. And we find that what they do is when people return stuff, 25% of the time it's because it's broken.
Okay.
75% of the time it's buyer's remorse or they didn't like the color or whatever.
It's still good.
Nothing wrong with it. The packaging, if it's fine, they put it back on the shelf. But if the packaging is damaged, they throw it into a huge box and they put it on a manifest. They write down what's there. When the box gets full, they auction it off or they liquidate it.
Okay.
And it's sold generally for 95% less than what they originally paid, like what Best Buy paid.
Wow.
So it's like free.
Yeah, basically.
So you get like an 18-wheeler with, I think it's 32 pallets, skids, like huge boxes. And it would cost like $10,000, $15,000 for like $250,000 worth of electronics.
Would you have to buy that much at once? Yes. Okay, then that's the deal. That's why everyone's not showing up at the auction.
Right.
So did you raise that capital?
Yes. So we did that.
Okay, but let's go back. How old are you again?
I would have been 19 at this point.
Okay, so at 19, but you haven't gone to school yet, or you are in school?
This is during school.
During like university, first year university. Okay. What did you take in university?
Major undecided.
Okay, undecided. Yeah, that's very popular, that one. But so what kind of courses are you taking in first year?
All kinds.
All of them.
But then at the end of the first year, you're supposed to decide what your major is.
Okay.
And I didn't do that. I never went in to tell them. And so then they assigned it as geography because that was my best mark in my first year.
Okay, great. So it's not like you're like, you took a business course and you're like, you knew how to do this stuff already. You're doing arbitrage while everyone else is like, I don't know, you're probably getting drunk too, but everyone else is getting drunk in high school and you're like, I can figure out how to make tremendous profit.
So my goal was always to make $200,000 a year.
Okay.
So that before I finished school, so that I could drop out of school.
Where'd you get that number?
I just thought that was the right number.
I mean, it's a nice number.
I just remember that being the number since like grade school. Like that was always my goal.
So you just started experimenting.
Yeah.
And with ways to do this.
I never achieved it, but
okay.
I dropped out anyways. I'm jumping ahead of the story here. But
so how did you raise this 10 or 15,000? What was it? Do you remember how much it was?
It was so the first truckload would have been in the 10,000-15,000 range. We did 4 truckloads.
Oh wow!
In like 2 months.
Okay.
we were moving product for sure.
Who had the capital? Other rich students?
It was my friend and I that did it, and we borrowed some money from my mom and from his dad. We got a truckload, and it was like $10,000, and so then you have to test everything. So we have
okay.
I'm living in my mom's house. My friend had moved into like my basement, and you can imagine what $250,000 worth of stuff from Best Buy looks like. So every single room in the house is piled to the ceiling, and
what's the range of stuff? Like you obviously video games and stuff, like video game systems, but also like what microwaves and popcorn makers,
and cords and printers.
Okay,
everything.
Did you have to test the cables to make sure they work too?
Yeah. So for car stereos was a big one.
Okay, yeah.
Actually, I'm not. Is that still a thing? Maybe it was I don't know. I feel like in high school everybody had their own.
I think
custom
you can
car
still
stereos.
take like removable ones and that you can take with you, so they don't get stolen. Is that
maybe nicer cars just don't need that or whatever. I don't know,
it's all Spotify now, right? Isn't it?
But the decks we'd have. Maybe you'd have like 50 or 100 decks like piled up in the garage, and those were a hard one to test. But we had this board of wood with screws that were strategically screwed in, measured, and then the wires were all attached to the screws for the speakers. So you just press this block of screws up to the back of the thing, and it just fit perfectly. And it would just come to life and turn on, and you listen to music. And sometimes like rear left speaker is blown, like in the actual components to it, and you throw that one in the garbage. But if it all works, then you put it in the good pile and you list it on eBay and you sell it.
Okay, so eBay was your way. Was it always eBay?
This was 2007.
Yeah. Okay. So how much did you clear? Say for the first, you did it 4 times. So the first one.
Yeah.
What's your,
so there was some profit. Probably was a couple $1,000. We weren't really tracking it too much. We were just spending the money. There was lots of cash in my underwear drawer.
Yeah.
At most.
But you knew you're recovering. You're able to pay people back for their investment, and then you had anything was gravy.
Yeah, we didn't track it that well. So we'd still have inventory when we ordered the next truckload. So we may not have been profitable yet.
Sure.
We're just hoping we would be. And then we'd order another one, and we take all the stuff that had something wrong with it, like the deck that only worked on 3 speakers.
Yeah.
We never tested the printers because we couldn't get the ink cartridges and all that stuff.
Yeah,
it
it seems
too much work.
Extra.
We would take all the garbage and we'd package that up into a skid, and then we'd wholesale it off to somebody else as like salvage condition.
Okay,
people would buy that.
Okay.
That you'd make like $1,000 back on that or something. So we would do that, and then the truckloads got worse and worse. Every truck we got was worse than the previous one. We
like
had,
less functioning things.
We had one from a company called Rex TV in Dayton, Ohio. That was remember those big rear projection TVs on wheels?
Yeah, okay.
They're like super heavy, gigantic.
Yeah.
The first kind of widescreen TVs ever.
Yeah.
We had a whole truckload that we were expecting 75% functional was 100% not functional.
Wow. And this is a gamble. You have,
and that was like
you have no recourse if none of them.
That was like a $12,000. It's always as is.
Oh my God.
And,
okay, so you're taking like these gambles early. Okay, so you stopped after 4 trucks.
And then another issue was that we stopped getting like Xboxes and iPods, and like the juicy stuff was just missing. So they were skimming it off
But you're learning arbitrage really early here.
Yeah. I'm learning HS codes for importing duties and stuff.
Yeah, because you would have had a functional import company and a CRA import number for all this stuff too. Yeah,
so you'd go to customs, and the truck company actually would ask for it because they're the ones that handle it. So like, give us the HS codes. So then we go to like figure. It's like I don't know where you go to the library or wherever it was. The HS codes are gigantic, thick textbooks, like the biggest books you've ever seen.
Oh my God!
Every single thing you can imagine has an HS code, which has a duty attached to it. So like if you have like a music device that can store MP3 music and play it back on headphones and has an FM tuner on it, that's one HS code. And then the same thing that doesn't have an FM tuner is a different HS code. Some of it's 1%.
How many of you are doing this?
So
you and a couple other people?
Me and one other guy.
Oh.
And so the truck would have thousands of items and like all of them unique, right? And so you have to find thousands of HS codes.
Because you got to pay tariffs on all this stuff.
And the truck company would be like, what are you talking about? Like, you can give us a maximum of 5 HS codes. And I'm like, but there's like thousands of things in this truck.
So what do you do?
They're like, I don't care. Give me 5 HS codes or I'm not bringing your stuff in.
They want just a general idea.
Because they're used to, well, you can imagine most trucks have like one thing in the back, right?
Frozen peas, I don't know. Something like that. So, or an Xbox, one.
So we give them 5, the 5 obviously lowest tariffs that we could find. They're generally representative. And,
sure, yeah.
And then the truck would call us, and when they'd drive it up from the States.
When it was cleared.
They'd get close and they'd be like, I think I'm in the wrong neighborhood. This is before like GPS was there, right?
I'm bringing this to a house.
This is like a residential neighborhood. I don't think I'm legally allowed to drive in this neighborhood.
Right. Probably not.
And we're like, well, yeah, no, it's fine. We've done it before. The guy came last time, no problem. He's like, well, do you have a truck level loading dock? And we're like, nope.
Do you have a loading dock?
Do you have a forklift? Like, nope.
Yeah, how do you get the pallets off the truck?
I'd have like 6 kids waiting there with like work gloves on, and like you can't lift the pallet because it weighs like hundreds of pounds. So you have to jump into the truck and take each. It was like those volunteer firefighters with the buckets. You'd have a line of kids all the way from the street up to the garage because you had 30 minutes to offload the entire truck.
That's how much the guy gave you.
And if it went over 30 minutes, they'd start charging you.
Okay. So overall, you do all this stuff with the trucks and you decide to stop. Why?
Because we were just getting, like, it was not profitable.
Yeah.
We were just getting garbage.
So did you end it with like still owing money to a bunch of people?
No, we ended up paying it back pretty easily. It wasn't too bad. It was pretty close. But like neighbors were complaining because we'd have like 60 wooden pallets on our driveway just hanging out there.
I'm glad none of those projection TVs worked in a way, because where would you put them?
Yeah. So
then how are you shipping them out? I guess you call in freight companies to ship them away.
For those, we'd sell those on like Kijiji and get people to come pick them up locally. But eBay stuff, we would drop off like huge truckloads of stuff to like the post office, and they'd be like, "What? This isn't how this works. Like, you're not supposed to do this."
You're just testing all of the systems, right?
Yeah.
So you're learning about systems. You're learning how import, and I guess maybe not export. If maybe you are selling some stuff to the States, bringing it in, and then some people from the States bid on eBay.
Sometimes.
And
you have to wrap it all. And
you're in school.
Yeah.
But you're like, obviously not paying attention to school.
Well, so this is the summer. This is the summer after first year.
Okay.
And we were like looking at it going, okay, we either have to put down a lease on a truck level loading dock with a forklift and a factory. Like we're going to go all in on
These
this.
are not normal conversations people have, by the way. You're 20 or something at this point?
19,
You need to get a loading dock.
Yeah.
Not normal.
The dining room in my house had floor to ceiling junk. Like it was like a hoarder's house. Like every hallway, the front hall was TVs lined all the way down like a showroom. My mom was not impressed. But
so what was the perk? This was enjoyable for you. Obviously, this is something that you enjoyed.
Yeah.
And your friend too.
It was
and
fun.
you paid everybody. The neighborhood's like, want extra casual labor, just go down to that house.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're in school summer. Okay, you kept going in school though.
So we loaded everything up onto a U-Haul and went to the dump, and it was a very cathartic experience. Just rolling these giant TVs off, and they would blow up, and they'd be like, it was... Yeah,
okay, so...
It's garbage.
But you wouldn't say you lost any money at that point? You're maybe breaking even, or...
Yeah, we had to pay our parents back, like a few grand. Like we were definitely short by the end of it, but like we were having a good summer too. Like I never really tracked it.
So you learned a couple of things from this. So where did that lead you to? What was the next one?
Next one was a window cleaning company.
Okay, that seems a little more less risky.
Yeah. Well, financially maybe.
Yes,
but you're on ladders.
Okay,
in
sorry.
The rain and
risky to your life risking.
Yeah,
but you can delegate that.
Yeah.
Were you up there?
I had one good 2-story
windows. Okay, yeah. Okay. So you're learning about that too. So why that one? What was the draw there? There was good profit margins.
I was in class, and people came to the class and made an announcement. They said you can make $10,000 in the summer by running your own business, and I was like, obviously, I'm going to do that. Like,
why didn't you tell me this before?
Yeah, what was I doing last summer?
Man.
So I went out, and it was a franchise company teaching you how to run window cleaning business, and they're like, you can make $10,000, and I was like, why not like 20? And they're like, just because this is how it works, buddy. Like, just you get with the program. Yeah. So I was like, all right, like let's
stop messing with our system.
Yeah. And I remember they had this like really long interview process, and I'm like, can we just like get into this now? Like, obviously, like I'm gonna do this. Like, what? But it's great.
You did it.
I learned a ton. Yeah.
For the summer, this was the second.
I did two summers in a row. Actually.
Second and third year.
Yeah.
Okay, and you made the 10.
I made 20-ish, 25 maybe in the first year.
Nice. How? By just hustling the different doors and hiring a bigger sales team? Or
I was really motivated by recognition, and so they had this huge chart. There's like 150 franchises of this, and I just needed to be the best one. So it was like, and whatever it would take to be at the top of the chart, I guess, was a big motivator for me. And I had this coach that I wanted to impress, and I had all these other like peers that I wanted to beat. And
so you're driven by, well, what you just said, a little bit of competition, but also this $200,000 number that you came up with, which you're not going to do during school, but you're figuring out ways, like you're testing the waters. Would you say?
Yeah.
So what are you doing with this $25,000? I mean,
traveling.
You gross 25, or you made 25?
I made 25. I grossed.
You paid everybody else, and you walked away with
50, 60. I can't actually remember what my first year was.
Okay, so you got 25 grand, 21 or something like that. And so you traveled for part of this. Like, do you have the rest of the summer?
I think I went on like 10 cruises in a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's nothing telling you to save this money yet.
No, I went on a 33-day road trip with my girlfriend, who's now my wife. We went on a cruise to Bermuda and a cruise out of Miami, and like drove all around. It was awesome.
Because you have the ability to earn.
Yeah.
Is that your thought? You're like, I'll just do this again.
Yeah.
So why, there's no need to save. Now just, quickly in hindsight, do you wish you had saved a little bit of that, or no?
Like I'm in such a good place right now that I don't have any regrets. But
at a certain point in your life, would you be like, man, if I just put some of that money away?
Yeah, I didn't know anything about home ownership then.
Okay, yeah.
But if I could go back and tell myself, hey, put a down payment, like I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't have qualified for a mortgage at that point, but
you might have bought some property.
I could have saved for property.
Nobody told you yet that you could make tons of money in real estate.
Yes. I didn't know that yet.
Why didn't you tell me?
Yes.
I would have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just funny if you would have had like a conversation with like 20 different people or something, right? Like, make your money here, then take it and put it in there. And then in a couple of years, you'll make some money, sell that and buy more, or rent out the properties or whatever. Did you ever end up doing that? I'm skipping ahead. You have rental properties at all?
I have rental properties now.
Yeah. So that's that's how you build wealth, right? In one way or another, right? Yeah. But of course, home ownership and renting out it's a risk.
Yeah, right? It's a risk and it's a business. It's a business. It's not an investment.
Right.
But
that's a good point.
I did make investments. That was 2008.
Yeah. Okay.
With the window cleaning company, and I had $10,000 invested.
So you did at that point. You didn't blow it all.
I lost it all.
Oh, you lost. Okay. What did you? Oh, you you invested in the way that you're starting businesses. What did you invest in?
Yeah, I was. I remember the one that I hold the grudge against was Apple. Not that it was anyone's fault or their
fault. You lost money on Apple. This was 2008.
Yeah, in the crash.
Of course.
I was triple leveraged. I had $30,000 of exposure on my $10,000.
Oh yeah.
And nobody told me not to do that, but it just seemed like
nobody knew.
Well, I started at the beginning of 2007, and I was a genius. Everything was going up. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So why not leverage triple?
I made 20% last year on my investments.
Yeah. It's triple.
It's going to always be that way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And if only somebody would have told you.
Yeah.
So then you lost it all.
I also wasn't really paying attention. I was triple leveraged. I was finishing school. I was running a window cleaning company. I was hiring 10 people.
Can you explain triple leverage for people?
Yeah. So when you put money into a discount brokerage and you're doing it yourself, if you put in $10,000, they'll allow you to purchase $30,000.
And why would they do that? Why would
they charge a lot of interest on that?
Okay, so it's like giving you a loan.
This is how the brokerages make a lot of money.
I see.
And so, but the challenge is that it fluctuates. So when you buy a house, for example, you're putting 5 times leverage. You're putting 20% down, and they're giving you 5 times leverage. The difference is that they only really they really never check the value of your home again, but theoretically at the 5-year mark, if it's a 5-year mortgage, they're kind of checking the value at that point. If your house goes down in value after you buy your house, 6 months later, it drops by half.
Yeah.
And then it recovers over the next 2 years. The lender doesn't care.
But
right? But in the stock market, it's minute by minute, right? So if you
because there's no collateral there, right? Right? Yeah. And it's you're leveraged against nothing,
right?
Except for these stocks you buy.
So if your stocks go down 33%, that means it's gone. The 30,000 you invested is down 10,000. That was your 10,000, and then they take their 20 back.
Oh. So that's how you lose it all. Because otherwise it'd be your Apple stock is worth $3,000 or $6,000, and then maybe it would go down to 3, but eventually we recover. It was the leveraging that got you.
Correct.
Okay, so that's you wonder I know my stock might go down, but I don't think it'll ever go negative or disappear. Yeah. But this is the way.
I would have so much money if I still owned that Apple stock. Yeah. If I wrote it all the way down and all the way back up.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should have bought some Bitcoin at the time, right? Or something, right?
Yeah.
If you're in this sort of, I'll call it gambling mode, right? Yeah. Just sort of taking your chances. If only cryptocurrency would have been something, you would have. Did you ever get into any?
I never got into cryptocurrency.
No. Okay.
I have the best performing stock portfolio in North America in the last 5 years, though.
5 years, okay. But that was, okay, we still got a couple of years to get to. So now you're clear, but then the next year you made another 25 in the summer, maybe?
Next year I made 40,000.
You made 40? Holy crap, okay.
Yeah, running a bigger window cleaning company.
So you're learning how to scale now, right? And it's I don't know, I feel like maybe you had, how did you learn this stuff? Did you read books or
No.
What's telling you just multiply this and that so you get more profit? I mean, it seems obvious.
It seemed intuitive to me.
Okay, so you have a lot of this is intuition.
Yeah.
But you're taking a lot of chances too, right? I'm thinking back on the trucks, right? Mm-hmm. That was scale, just to raise that much money when you're so young.
Yeah. I guess so.
You didn't have a fear?
I don't. It's a lack of fear, I think things are just gonna work out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the majority of the population does not have that. Mm-hmm. That's why they're working in jobs, mm-hmm. right? Secure jobs,
right?
Right. Where they're not necessarily secure. They could get fired any time, but they're not it's not every day is a risk, right? Mm-hmm. If they do their job, typically they might keep it, but. You have this thing, and do you think this is a necessary thing for someone who's an entrepreneur, someone who's starting a business?
Yeah, I'm not sure though. It's a kind of a strange nuance because a big aspect of it is a lack of security. I feel insecure all throughout this. I'm desperately trying to make money.
That's the drive.
Because doing nothing is so insecure for me.
Interesting.
If I work at a job where I'm making a basic a steady income, like a salary, and it's going to be like that for the next 5, 10, 50 years.
Yeah.
Like that is so much anxiety to me. Like I can't handle that.
And why is it? Because first of all, you're 200,000 target, but you need growth. You need room. You need to be able to build.
Yes.
Is that like, it seems like a core value for you?
Progressing or or just kind of like, it's like running away from having nothing in the past.
Interesting.
Like you need to constantly be progressing against that.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this is interesting to understand because, a lot of people might be like, this is all craziness, right? Like you're taking all these chances before you even hit 25, right? But you're making money. And okay, so what about the 40 grand? Did you put some of that in stock too?
No, travel.
All travel.
Yeah.
Wow. This is like great stuff. Great travel. Like, I mean, that 40 grand would be worth a lot of money now, a lot more anyway, but hey, we got to live our life too, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. And you didn't finish university then?
No. So
why would you? You're making salary. You're making money. You don't need it.
That year was the year York University was on strike. They're on strike right now, actually. Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really have a full school year, which is part of why I was able to be so successful with window cleaning. Because normal window cleaning season is like 2 or 3 months, half of which you're actually in school.
Okay.
So I had more time. So the strike was coming to the end at the end of that summer. And so it was going back to school when I really just took a whole year off school. And we had a new idea at this point. We were going to start a tea company.
Okay. So like tea leaves.
Yes.
Bags of tea.
Yeah.
Okay.
So while I was traveling, I came across Teavana in the States.
Okay, yeah. Which it was not here at all. And,
wasn't here.
David's maybe didn't exist or anything like that.
He had 3 stores.
Okay, okay, great.
But not in the GTA. No one was really in.
Yeah, no one knew about tea.
Teopia was also.
Yeah, there's a few of those here now.
5 stores or so
in the path,
at the time.
maybe.
The guy's name's also David. Actually, it was kind of funny. But yeah, so I was in the States and I ran across Teavana and it smelled delicious and it looked cool and people were buying it. And so
people are buying tea. Were you a tea drinker yourself?
No.
You're just like, tea is the thing. Tea is
seemed gimmicky and cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So I looked into it. I was like, how much? I knew I wanted to start a retail store.
Why? It seems like a lot of work to start a retail store. This isn't just like doing what you knew retail was.
I wanted to get into clothing.
Okay, because of the margins.
I don't know. I thought I could do a better job, but I
so you see these things and you want to improve on them.
Yeah,
you got to try it.
Yeah.
So
I had this idea for a clothing store where the retail space could double as like an event venue and like a nightclub, and so you actually use it more like 24 hours a day as opposed to just like business hours.
Does that exist today?
No, I never ended up doing it, but I remember having
somebody else do it though.
I don't think so.
Anywhere?
I don't know.
Interesting. I mean, they do that with some furniture stores. My friend of mine got married in a furniture store.
That's cool.
When it was closed, right? Like a nice designer place, right? It's like at waterfalls and stuff or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So you didn't do that, but you did the tea or no?
I did the tea. Yeah, because it's so cheap. Like tea is like free.
But what about the packaging, the cool little things and stuff?
You can figure that out. It's cheap. But it's all like the margins on tea are like some of the best margins in retail.
But it's leaves, right?
Yeah, it's like nothing.
It's really,
especially the like peppermint and chamomile they're robbing you. Like
so you know way too much about tea.
I do
now, and you learned a lot about it then.
Yeah.
So one store? You had
3 stores.
3 stores.
Yeah.
And how did they do? Or do they still exist?
Upper Canada Mall in Newmarket. Yeah. And we had Oakville Place, and we had Vaughan Mills.
Okay. And so you're paying rent in all these places.
It's very expensive.
Yes, right? I imagine. So you're in high profile places. Are you married at this point?
No.
But it's like the same girlfriend throughout the whole time. Yeah. Just curious. What does she think about this at the time?
She used to be more stressed about it.
Yeah.
But now she's better.
I'm going to go into tea.
Yeah.
Right? Sure, whatever, right? Yeah. Is she in school doing her own thing, making her own money?
She was in school. She paid a lot more like attention to school. So, yeah.
What does she do now, if you don't mind me asking?
She's a teacher, but now we have like 3 kids.
Yeah, she got her Bachelor of Education.
She went and did her Master's of Education at U of T afterwards.
Yeah, okay. So it's something practical. Something you would never do.
Right.
You got to have the balance, right?
Yeah.
You know, like my wife is in med school. right now. So, and she's a pharmacist already. So like super practical stuff, right? And she's also really smart enough to do that. And I'm making podcasts, right? For free. So, who's smarter? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it all ends up.
Yeah.
But, okay. So you're like 3 tea stores. You had to raise some capital to buy these, or you used your own money?
We borrowed some money again.
You're paying franchise fees.
No. We made our own brand.
Made a brand.
It's called 120 Tea.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're creating a company.
Yeah.
You're like, I can do better than Tia Havana or David's if it was around.
And we did. We had higher sales than all of them.
Wow.
Because it was like a bunch of like sales guys, like hustlers, and like in the mall, like we sold so many friggin' cast iron teapots. It was ridiculous.
Tea or Xbox, is this the mark of a good salesperson? It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
Is that like, can you sell anything?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
we had to make the cast iron teapots in China, and like.
Okay, so there's production here. It's not just ordering tea and bringing it in.
No, there's the pots are where
you're sourcing a manufacturer in China and like making a prototype and telling them build this.
No, they have like existing ways of making them and stuff. Like we weren't like designing new teapots, but yeah.
Okay, so you obviously they don't exist anymore, these tea stores, or they do?
No, so we ended up partnering and selling to Ethiopia.
You did, okay.
And then
like you sold the whole company to Ethiopia?
Yeah, so they had the resources. Like they were backed by Keyman and Engravers was the company.
Really?
Like it's in like
of course, it's been around forever.
Yeah,
they are the ones who got into the Ethiopia business.
So it's the son of the guy that owns that.
Mall retail.
And then David's Tea is backed by Le Chateau.
Really?
It's the same family.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so
it makes sense to expand.
And they knew all the malls.
You know the mall business. Yeah. Room for tea. You figure, hey, where's the hole in the mall retail space? It's tea, right? Not anymore because they're everywhere, right?
Well, not anymore. Starbucks just threw them in the garbage.
Really?
Yeah, they paid $600 million for Teavana, and they a couple months ago threw them out.
I did not know that. I'm not following the tea retail space, but yeah.
They killed it.
Okay. So would you call that like your first sort of exit, if you will? Did you sold the company
Kind of.
out?
It wasn't a graceful exit, but it was, we got to make good money for a few months, and we did like $250,000 in sales in our first like 2 months.
And so you're clearing some money. Not now. Are you have money in the bank now? Are you investing for real? Is there a point when you actually...
So this is when I buy my first house.
Okay. So you get enough money to buy first house now, buy it with a big down payment, or just buy it outright?
No. Like buy it and still borrow some money from my mom and just scrape
I guess this wasn't that long ago. How long ago was this?
This was 2011.
Okay. So, I mean, the market wasn't...
10.
Yeah. So, 10. I don't know. But where you're buying?
Aurora.
Yeah, Aurora. So things, maybe something in the 300,000 area range, or
$334,000.
Exactly. So reasonable. Did you put the full 20% down?
No, 10% down, and it had to be a house that had a basement apartment already built because we had no money left over for renos. Okay. And I needed to rent the basement because I had no income.
So that was important. So you had a rental income property, and you said earlier it's a business. Is it work?
Yeah. Well, I specify that because people often compare rate of return, and they compare like the stock markets to their like real estate portfolio, and it's like
no, you're right. They shouldn't look at investment that way. Yeah, but it is passive income, sort of.
Well, you have to do a lot of work. That's the stories I could tell you.
What kind? Like, give me just one example. Like the bad tenants.
Yes.
Like the worst. Okay.
Like every
Let's go with the worst one.
Every tenant. The worst one.
Is there poop involved?
Yes.
Okay. Please proceed.
The worst one, which I thought was good at the time, because it was like I met him and he was in a wheelchair, and he's like, I get the money from the law firm, and the law firm will pay the rent. And I was like, well, this is like a guaranteed win. Like he's not going to not pay his rent. Like
the law firm
pays the rent. It's perfect. What can go wrong? And so he had been in a car accident, and he was like,
so he's getting a settlement of some kind.
He was looking forward to a huge settlement. The lawyers were, paying everything because they were going to make it out later on. And so he moved in, and I suspect that he was taking like a lot of painkillers and like needles and stuff, and he was home all day. Everybody smoked. Everybody told me they didn't smoke. Everybody told me they would never smoke inside. They all smoke inside. This is this was Aurora basement 101.
So just every possible thing.
So smoking inside was a big issue. So we ended up moving out and moving downtown and buying our second house. This is like my fourth tenant in Aurora. The people that moved in upstairs consistently complain about this guy because he smells bad. They think he's smoking, whatever. Every time they turn on the furnace, they smell this weird smell and they think it's smoke. So like finally I go in and I just kick the guy out because there's nothing like I'm like, you gotta leave. This is the only person I've ever asked to leave, and he was a pretty reasonable guy about it. And I get him out, and as soon as I get him out, I go in and I'm looking around and I'm like, what is this smell? Like, where is it? Like, it was disgusting down there. And there's a crawl space. Half of the back of the basement had a crawl space. Turns out the guy never put out the garbage once. He lived there for 9 months. He'd been throwing all the garbage into the back under the crawl space and leaving it there.
Oh my God.
For almost a year, right? And this is the vent, so you can picture the ductwork goes right above where the garbage was. So that's why every time the furnace came on, all the garbage smell that was in the ducts got wafted up into the house.
And I mean, we don't have to go into what happens to garbage when it sits for a while.
So I'm on my hands and knees crawling through this friggin' crawl space, pulling this garbage out to outside. And then I get to the end of getting all the garbage out, and there's this huge piece of plywood in this dark like crawl space. And I'm like, what is that weird piece of plywood? And I pick it up, and underneath it is just full of feces. And I'm like,
human feces?
I'm like, what is going on? I almost threw up. Like, this was like the most twisted, dark thing. And I go to take these boards out, but the boards had been in there since before the basement was finished, I guess. So it didn't fit out the crawl space, these giant plywood. So I had to cut them up in the crawl space.
With like a circular saw or something?
With like a little handsaw. And break them up, and I get it all out. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, this is human feces. This guy was like taking dumps in my crawl space. There's like just some like sick, like, cause and so I get out there, and underneath the boards, there's paw prints.
Okay.
And the previous tenant had this dog that they never took outside, and it had carpets at the time, and I had to change the carpets, and that was real feces at the time. But the dog had been taking dumps in there, and they covered it up with wood before they left. So it was the previous tenants.
Who teaches people this stuff? Like, hey, so there's poop and garbage, just throw it somewhere. Yeah. You know, the world will take care of it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, this is basic stuff, right? And we always complain about people who don't know basic personal finance.
Yeah.
It's like, like this is basic living stuff, right? So, okay, so tenants work, but you seem to still own this place.
So I sold that house.
You ended up selling
that was the last tenant I had in that house.
Okay.
I'm done.
Okay, so you sold that one.
I was renting both units at that time, and I had moved down to the city and bought a place in the East End, Leslieville, and that had a basement apartment that I built that basement apartment. There's a huge amount of gains
crawl spaces
to be made. No crawl spaces. No. So I'd been renting that one, and I had found a third house that I wanted to buy, and I wanted to refinance the first two.
So why houses? So you have some cash for down payments, and you realized houses are a good investment at this point.
Markets were going up like crazy. Makes me look like a genius.
Yeah,
nothing to do with me, but like,
it's a good point. I mean, it's what everyone tells everybody to do, and you're doing it. So yeah. Okay, so you're buying houses, and you stop at 3, one that you live in.
Well, the third one. So I went to refinance the one that I was living in. And the first one as well, and the valuation came back $200,000 less.
Whoa!
Than what I wanted, and so I had to sell it because I couldn't get the capital out to do the renovation. So the third one that I bought was a massive, like pretty much a full rebuild of the house.
Yeah.
And so I sold it within a month for $200,000 more than the appraisal. It was like very, very frustrating.
Because you could, but you didn't want to.
I didn't want to. I would have had 3 houses at this point, but instead I have 1, but it's a wicked triplex, and I'm quite happy living in it. And the basement has 2 units, and it pays for the entire mortgage. And
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And people don't do this because they're afraid of the work.
It's a lot of work.
And it is a lot of work.
My basement, I've had the house for now over 4 years. My basement has flooded on average every 6 months.
Really?
Every single time it is for a unique reason.
Man, and is this just bad luck? Or?
It's a curse. It's a curse.
It's a curse.
Yeah.
You're being punished for your entrepreneurial skills. So what are you doing for income at this point?
So at that point, I was working. When we moved out of the city, I was working as an investment advisor.
Okay, so wait. You got to have licenses and stuff to be an investment advisor. When did you get this stuff?
So before I moved down, I was doing online marketing. So I've skipped over like a whole bunch of companies here.
Yeah. So okay, the T was where we were at. Let's go to the next big one. You were doing online marketing, which is affiliate marketing.
When we wrapped up the tea, we had all this extra inventory, so we were trying to figure out how to sell it. So we were going to make a web-based like tea company, and we didn't end up doing that. It was going to have like an MLM type vibe to it, and we just didn't want to do that. With like the tea parties and stuff. We tested it out a bit. It actually could have worked. And then the same year, actually, there was a company on Dragon's Den talking about tea parties and MLM. And then like 2 years later, they did like a previously on Dragon's Den, like follow up. And the company was doing $10 million a year in revenue. It was the exact same idea.
Okay. Well, let's just describe this for a second. So somebody, multi-level marketing is when you recruit people to then sell what you sell, and then you get a percentage of what they get because you
sell out all your friends and family.
And everybody, if they make money, you make money, and people at the top make the most.
Yeah, and if you recruit 2 people and they recruit 2 people,
that's right.
7 levels down, you're going to be a millionaire.
And if you're selling something that doesn't really exist, or just selling, that's called a pyramid scheme.
Then it's illegal.
But then it's illegal. But if it's actual product, it's just a way to sell things. And the parties would be the way to, hey, look, this tea is great. You could sell it for me, and then you'll get paid, and then I'll get paid, and everyone's good.
Yeah, we had this huge duffel bag of inventory, and we take it around to like university campuses, and they, you sample everything, try all the teas, teach them all about tea. People love learning about tea. There's so many stories about this stuff. And then they take orders, and then you deliver the orders, and the host gets paid, and then you recruit people to buy the duffel bag to show the tea, and it keeps going.
But you didn't do this.
We did it a few times, but then we didn't want to.
It wasn't sustainable.
Yeah. It wasn't. It was just like,
it wasn't.
We were looking at it. We were looking at other MLM companies, because the best way to run an MLM company is to be as close to a pyramid scheme as possible without going to jail.
Without going into it.
And so all of the boards,
and that you're not doing any work. Everyone else is just making the money for you.
Yeah, and all the board of directors on all the MLM companies are all federal judges in the States and stuff. And we were looking at it, going like, I don't really want this to be my reputation for the rest of my life.
Sure. Okay. So that's interesting. There was a line there, and you wanted legitimate businesses. Mm-hmm. So where did the next idea come from? So
in working out that, I had met Scott, who's now my co-founder here.
Yeah.
And so we ended up...
He lives in the West Coast.
At the time, he was still finishing school.
He was here in Ontario.
Yeah, he was working for Esso.
Okay.
And he knew how to make websites, and I was like very much an offline kind of person. And so we had this idea. I went to an art school for high school. I went for drama. Yeah, nice. Because I got to miss a day of school to audition, and then they let me in, and then I got to do 8 credits of like not work. So awesome. I did that, and
now you make good videos.
Yeah. And so I knew all of these wicked musicians, and they produced these amazing songs. Like some of them produced really fantastic songs. Sure. And you never hear them.
Like they were all became professional musicians. Some of them.
Yeah, professional quote, like trying to be professional.
Yeah, sure.
And you would never hear their songs. And I was like, this is like a tragedy. Like there must be so many other songs out there.
Okay.
But like you can't find them because like most, independent musicians are not very good. Like if you just look at on aggregate.
Yeah, seriously, yeah.
And so we said, what if we could build a system that would like socially curate independent music and then release like only the very best music to subscribers, and then distribute some of that subscription revenue back to the artists, and everybody can share in it, and it'd be great.
Okay. Yeah.
So we built this company called Weekly Indie that had press in like 7 languages and all over the world, and it was like we had
Scott knew all the internet stuff to do, all the web stuff.
It looked a lot like Netflix looks. This was before Netflix, but it was a subscription. You got like 10 songs a week, and we had thousands of songs being submitted to us all over North America.
Really? And how are you getting this network? How did you spread the word and stuff?
We made a lot of like classified postings. Like there's a lot of postings for like gigs and people to help out and like play a band to play at my restaurant, whatever. And so we would say, look, it's a song contest. You could win $500, submit your song, and if it gets picked, then and we'd rate the songs and we'd release songs. And
so would you say the key, like, because there's a lot of similarities here to all your businesses, is that you're good at selling, right? But would you say the key is just to keep doing it? Like, I think people, like I'll take myself as an example. I'm not a salesperson. I could be like emailing people every day, but I don't, right? Mm-hmm. And is that all it takes a lot of times, is just keep doing it, and then eventually people will respond if you do it enough? Is that like a basic
I guess so.
stuff?
I think it really depends on the entrepreneur. I think certain people have different strengths, and you can follow those strengths, and they can lead to really great things. Certain strengths can be more valuable than others in certain circumstances. Like obviously, like selling is a very valuable skill in all businesses.
Yeah,
selling your ideas.
Really is
selling new employees. So I recommend everybody learn some sales. But like for example, I'm terrible at like being detail oriented or doing anything repetitive or really following through on things. So you mentioned like emailing people on a regular basis to sell them stuff. Like I would never follow up with it. Like maybe email somebody once and then I'm going to go do some other.
So who's getting all the people to respond and calling them and stuff in this business? You hiring
another guy? Yeah, we hired another guy.
So you're basically figuring out what your strengths are as you go, and not and which is what a lot of people should do is especially even before you have the money to do it. So because that's how you're making the money. I think people wait till they have money and they try to do everything themselves, right? It's a tough thing to run your own business, but for you, it seems a lot easier. Am I wrong? Or it's just a better option?
Well, like keep in mind, like up until this point, I've never made like more than like $50,000 in a year.
Okay.
It's like it's not
so
like
you're hustling
I'm not like
and you're doing stuff, but to make like what somebody's regular salary might be for working a 9 to 5 at that point.
Yeah, like so there was like those 2 seasons of window cleaning where I was killing it, like making $40,000 in 3 months.
Sure, that's
like it's a lot. The rest of the time, I was working for way less than minimum wage if you count all the hours.
And you're working a lot. You're kind of working all the time. Your mind's going. You're figuring out ways to make this business. Okay, so Weekly Indie did okay, but revenues?
So we learned a ton about acquiring clients and credit card submits and subscriptions and all that kind of stuff.
Okay,
and started to learn about how other companies get users and clients, and it's through this channel of like called affiliate marketing. And so I met this guy at a party, and he had the True Religion jeans on and this like very fancy looking belt, and he had a Hummer.
Okay.
And it was like
where'd you get that stuff?
Like a university party, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, like, what do you do?
You're a drug dealer.
And he's like, I'm an affiliate marketer.
Yes.
And I was like, so am I. Tomorrow, like, can I get your number? I might have some
Why
questions.
didn't you tell me about this before?
Yeah. So I go home and I Google affiliate marketing, and I'm like, wow, like this is.
I'm this now.
Yeah, this is me. So I sat at my computer for 16 hours a day, 7 days a week for 3 months. Running campaigns for hundreds of companies, creating thousands of ad campaigns. This is a year that I signed up for Facebook. I've never used Facebook.
Now you're starting small though. I'm guessing you're starting with one, you spend some money, you make a lot more money, and then you just keep increasing.
No, at the end of 3 months, I was down $3,000.
Okay, so you just went all in. It didn't work, but then what did you learn from that? It's going all in.
You learn all these little bits and pieces, and you hopefully tie them together, and then the industry works in waves. So like I had just missed the acai berry cleanse wave.
Yes.
So that was in 2000.
But how do you know it's not going to be a fad? Like how do you know any of this stuff is not going to be a fad?
It's all a fad. So that was a wave.
Well, a wave is a fad, yes. Yeah. But you could have profited on it like if you opened a ramen store or something, at a certain point in time.
People made millions of dollars just advertising in
affiliate marketing,
colon cleanse, like that wave, and before I got there.
Yeah,
I got there. It was a bit of a lull. There was a big one for like college courses. So this guy that I had met, I found out he was running lead gen for people to take career college classes in the U.S. So like you want to be in law enforcement, take this weird strip mall plaza course.
And it'll give you the edge.
Or you want to become a nurse, like take this, and like you don't actually get to become a nurse or a cop. Like it's just like
it's a pre-test,
like
a preparation. It's like prep stuff.
It's like a crappy career college type place, and they were paying him $20 for each person who would apply for an information booklet.
So it's a good time to break down affiliate marketing for for a second.
Yeah.
So you have a website of some kind that you're getting traffic to go to that website somehow.
Yeah.
By doing what?
Yeah. So
by buying keywords and things like that?
Some people do it through search engine marketing. Some people do it through their own content and their own websites. And
you're paying money.
Yeah. So I would do it through Facebook marketing.
So you're buying Facebook ads basically to point people to this page for the thing that you find that's online that pays the most commission every time somebody makes a sale.
Yes.
That's every time somebody clicks through and buys.
So you spend money advertising to drive traffic to a link to their website. If it converts on their website, they're going to pay you. And if you spent less, then you make the difference.
And so you figured out a magical mix of how much to spend versus how much.
So he was running campaigns for nurses and cops.
For their career college stuff.
And they were paying him $20 for a client that would request the whole booklet and learn more. And he was getting it for $1.
Okay. Like in Facebook or in whatever kind of advertising.
He was running them on Facebook, and Plenty of Fish was a big source, and Stumble Upon that.
So he was spending maybe $1 a day or something, or however much, $1 per client. $1 per client.
He was making $50,000 a day in profit.
Oh my God! and so is this luck? He just kind of stumbled on this is the right time to do it. This is the right Facebook algorithm.
So he had been doing it for years before, and
so he did testing too, as you're doing.
Yeah, so he's in his underwear in his mom's house in his bedroom, right? And he's in BMO's shutting down his bank accounts, and the RSMP's looking into him, and he's like, "Why do you have hundreds of thousands of dollars?" And
my God,
that's his life.
There was a golden time when you could do this, and it can't really be done anymore.
So it's a wave, right? So that wave came to an end. And I was trying to learn at this point, and I was failing a lot, and I was spending way too much money, and not really. I had a few little campaigns that were working, but
you're spending your whole days doing this, you said. Like long
all
days.
16-hour days.
Meanwhile, the rest of us might just be like, I bought one Facebook ad and I didn't get any sales. Why?
Yeah.
It's because you didn't spend 16 hours a day doing it. So that's a good lesson in persistence.
This is a hard one.
Yes.
Don't listen to Tim Ferriss. He makes it sound easy.
The 4-hour work week.
Everything that he does was not replicatable.
Okay.
Which is why he's
writing
reading
books.
Did you
read the book before?
I read the book.
You're like, well, why is 16 hours? You're like, that's me. I want 4 hours a week.
So I know the tactics in the 4-hour work week, and I have disdain for it because he sells it as if you can do it. So what happened is he did all these things, and then it dried up. Like he was selling like weight loss shakes and stuff online. I tried that as well. It dried up, as these things do, and then he decided to try again, I'm sure, and it failed, and tried again and failed, and then he just wrote a book about it and gave up. But the book made it sound like you could do what he did.
Yeah.
If you could, he would still be doing it, not writing books about it. That's right. That's all I have to say about Tim Ferriss.
Yeah, no, and because he does present it as if you just find a product, like you said, spend less on advertising than you're going to make doing this, delegate everything to everybody else, and then have the business run for you.
Right.
And that it does not work.
So no,
it didn't work for you. Let's just say that. Yeah.
At that point, But then my wave came, and this was in the end of 2010.
Yeah. Okay.
Groupon came out.
Okay.
So Groupon came out, and they were getting crazy VC money. And the whole game was it was a race. There was nothing proprietary. Everybody's going to copy them. So then Toronto Star built WagJag, and then you had DealFind, and you had KGB Deals, you had Living Social, you had
etc. Yeah,
everything, right? I worked for every single one of those companies.
You worked for in your affiliate.
As an affiliate.
Yes. Okay.
So I was running the same campaigns, driving traffic to all of them. Whoever was willing to pay the most can buy my traffic.
So they'd have you get this thing that was normally $100. It's on for $45.
And no one knew what they were doing. So all of us affiliates knew how the industry worked. They didn't know. They were brand new to the game. And it can be a bit of a sleazy industry. It's it's bait and switch.
You're doing whatever you can to get people.
Yeah, because the affiliate doesn't care if the client ends up becoming a client. They just care if the lead is generated.
Oh, right? so because can you get lead gen pays now?
Yeah,
because they don't have to go and buy the product.
Big brands don't use affiliate marketing so much anymore because of what happened to Groupon, but.
Because I work with ones where you get paid when somebody buys the product.
Yeah. So
not just the click-through.
Yeah. So sale campaigns and
you had click-through. Okay, so that's...
Email submit, click-through, those were...
Wow.
So WagJag came out, they were paying $4 a lead in Canada, and I was generating them for 25 cents, and I was generating thousands. Groupon, I had a campaign in Brazil that was generating 10,000 new users a day.
Wow.
In Portuguese. That's how I learned Brazil speaks Portuguese. I thought everything was Spanish.
Yeah, but it is one of the exceptions in South America. Yeah. A big one.
Yeah. And I had these ads about energy drinks.
How are you putting it on Portuguese? You just pay someone to
Google Translate.
Okay. God.
And
I don't even know if the context is right or anything.
Converts.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay. That's a good one. I like that. So so how much are you making? Just long story short.
$6,000 a day.
$6,000 a day, and do you have a total?
So the wave went from October 2010 to January 2011.
That's the solid months in there.
It was a good wave.
Okay, yeah. So $6,000 a day.
Right. So this is when we moved to the Toronto.
This is like almost $200,000 a month. The $150,000 a month.
So. It wasn't every day.
Not every day.
I definitely did not make up. Don't do the easy math there.
Yeah.
It's not that good.
So but you were able to make some good cash doing this.
Yeah. And tens of thousands of dollars floating around.
Like you said, this is when you bought the house, and then you had 3 houses, and then we already know that part of the story. Okay, but that was not sustainable. So I guess the idea of all this stuff is none of this. This is all just fleeting. It's always one to the next. Are you getting tired of this, or is it all exciting?
So I moved downtown.
Better and better and better.
Yeah, and I got a real job at Wood Gundy as an investment advisor.
Why are you getting a real job? It doesn't sound like you.
Because it's like I needed like a sustainable income, so that dried up in like January, February, and that was.
But you never did before. Why do you stay on? Because you have
properties. Because now I have 2 mortgages, and my wife's in her master's program, and like things are getting expensive.
So the pressure's on a bit, and so you get licenses, and
and because I found out that investment advisors make the most money.
You get paid on a commission basis.
It's the highest earning career that you can have without a degree.
Sky's the limit. You get a whale. Somebody has $10 million. Well, you're good.
Yeah, the top earning investment advisors make north of $10 million a year.
They really do, because their clients have, I'm going to say $1 billion or
they rack up $1 billion portfolio of clients, and you can live quite nicely. Without any formal training or degree or expertise.
It's interesting, eh? Yeah. But you have to pass certain licensing. That's the only. But they're very like
walk in, write it, and you're done.
Yeah.
Like it's
okay. So you kind of know what you're talking about. You're making some money.
It's a guarantee. So it's very hard in the beginning. It takes like a good part of a decade to get a book together that will actually pay you.
Okay.
And I knew right when I got there that I wasn't going to stick around. Because it was like they were like, go get 300 clients, and I was like, okay, like today. Or
but that's your expertise, you know how to like, or you could.
But they were like,
hire somebody.
That's why I had to clarify, and they're like, no, in your life, like that, your whole life is getting 300 clients. I'm like, why can't we get 300 clients in a day? So it became like an anthropological mission to understand this industry.
Okay,
I was so curious, like, why can't we get 300 clients in a day?
So what did you find out?
Oh, it just takes forever. The technology sucks. Like it's like very arduous. Like costs too much. Marketing costs too much. Everything's costs too much.
And what's a good client?
Well, they would say you're not allowed to take on a client with less than $500,000.
And why? Because it's not
you're not going to make enough money to cover the thousands of dollars of marketing costs and servicing costs and all this kind of stuff.
Okay.
So there's just a lot that needed to be overhauled.
So you know you're not going to be in this for the long haul. Do you have a plan? What's your plan?
I started a weight loss company.
Okay. Awesome.
I was on a cruise and
I think I've heard this story, but please go. There's a magician of some kind?
A hypnotist.
A hypnotist.
Right.
Okay. Yes. Go ahead. So the hypnotist.
Have you been on a cruise before?
I have just once, and it's one of the worst stories of my life. But, you go with yours.
So they bring on these like entertainers, right?
Yes.
They force them to do 3 shows because it's a week.
Yep.
They only usually have 1 good show. And then they have a mediocre show, and then they have a terrible show because they're forced to do 3. So the terrible show in this case was they were doing well, it wasn't terrible, but like he had the 2 real cool, like make the audience bark like dogs and quack like dogs and all that like stuff. And it was pretty, believable. The third one was like how to lose weight using hypnosis. And so he hypnotized the whole audience talking about weight loss and all this stuff. And
but he couldn't prove that right away. Obviously it's a long term.
Yeah. But like, it's just like how it would work and the theory of it and stuff. And at the end of it, there's this lineup down the hall. Cause they always sell like musicians sell their CDs and stuff. So he's a lineup down the hall.
Everybody wants
selling these like hypnosis audio CDs for $150.
Like $150 pop, and of course it costs nothing to make a CD.
And there's a lineup to buy these, and it's just him like recording this like essentially podcast about how to be interested in doing healthy things. And so I wait till the line's gone, and I'm like, "Hey, you ever sell these on the internet?" And he's like, "On the internet? We're on I live on cruise ships. There's no internet. Like I don't know what that is. Like,
I don't even have a computer."
And I was like, "Well, just like give me the discs, and I'll see if I can sell them on the internet for you. And if I can, like, we'll make millions of dollars, and like there's a 99% chance it's not going to work, in which case you'll make nothing."
Yeah.
And he was like, all right, I'm in. So we started Hypnotic Dose. And
so the website called Hypnotic Dose?
It was called Hypnotic Dose, yeah. And it was a rip-off of the acai berry cleanses that I was telling you about. Yeah. So we ripped off the design and how that all worked, but instead of like pills that you got in the mail, it was hypnosis. And I felt good about it. It actually worked. I lost like 30 pounds.
You did this?
Weight loss hypnosis.
Yeah. Okay.
It makes a lot of sense. I'm not going to get into why it makes a lot of sense, but it works.
I guess, there's probably some good reasons. And so you were able to sell this.
So because of the acai berry wave, the gatekeepers to all the online marketing stuff it's all Visa and MasterCard.
Ah, okay.
Right? So if they don't like what you're doing, they shut you down.
Because that's how everybody pays for things.
Right. Yeah. So if you get 2% of your transactions, call Visa or MasterCard and say these guys are fraudulent. Okay. And they do a chargeback. Yeah. If you get 2%, then you get banned.
You shut down your merchant account.
If enough businesses with the same business model get banned, they blacklist the industry.
Interesting.
So I learned this the hard way after building the entire website. Okay. And they said, that you're doing weight loss on the internet and it's a rebill, right? Because the pills would always rebill you every month, like $100 and you get robbed. And they're like, we're like, but like we're not sending pills in the mail. Like this is like an audio subscription. They're like, that's even worse. Like, what do you mean it's worse? Like, well, if you don't have any proof that you shipped anything,
there's no tangible thing.
We can't even like prove.
Was it downloadable audio?
It was a streaming thing.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
People loved it. We had clients that loved it. It was great. We sold lots through Groupon and stuff, and it worked for people. But we couldn't do a rebill. And subscription services and all that, like that's why those business models work, is because you can make your money. The cost per acquisition will be exceeded by the 6-month mark or the 12-month mark on the revenue, but you're never going to exceed it on acquisition, like on day one. But they were like, you have to do a straight sale campaign. So it was like, we had to sell it for $80 up front and never charge them again. And there's no way we could spend $80 or less in marketing to do that. Like the unit economics. Just didn't work.
So this is not working out. So you got to shut this one down.
Yeah.
Now you're still working as a financial advisor.
Right.
The reason we talked about all this stuff is because you have to understand Eric's mind to understand that like the light bulbs are going off all the time. And the only way to get to the light bulb that sticks is to do it so much. Because otherwise you would have been like, I can't do this. Nobody can do this. And you wouldn't have tried because you wouldn't have tried and failed so many times. And now you kind of have this superpower of building a business, trying something. Of failing, yes. But I mean, you're failing, but you're also you're learning as you go, right? So this idea comes up and what was it?
So this was, we're right on time. So we had this idea that we can get people to give us their information over the internet to build a financial plan. Yeah. And so we built that.
Well, how did that come up?
Well, after 2 years of studying this at Wood Gundy and
you saw it was all bullshit.
Just understanding what they were doing. It's not that it was bullshit. It's just like, what are they doing for their high net worth clients that's working? And how can we use technology to emulate that and make it work for people who are not the wealthiest of the wealthy? And how can we do that in a way that's still affordable and have a business that's viable, that can flourish? And the answer is that you got to build financial plans for people so they understand what they need to do. Yeah. And then you have to help them do it.
Ahead of time, early. Yeah. Right? Not when they already have $500,000 or more dollars.
Correct. Yeah. And
it's almost pointless then.
Right. And the technology didn't exist. And so first we said, well, can we get people to do it? So we built this form and people were filling it out and giving us all their information and saying, I want a plan. We couldn't actually build the plan at that point using technology. So we were building them offline and testing it out. And I started selling the idea, this is in 2012, that we need to do this. We need to create a way to actually deliver the plan. So like the world's greatest financial planning software. And we need to build a way to invest their money and set them up with insurance and do their mortgages for them and do it all under one roof. And they would tell them, like people I was pitching, they would say like, that's like what a bank does. Like, what are you going to do? Start a bank? Like you can't just start a bank. And so we didn't. We couldn't do it.
This is all just, right now it's all just crazy ideas, right?
Yeah.
So what made you keep going with it?
I didn't. Shutting you down. I went off and I went and started a different company and it was like a socially curated search engine.
Okay, so you did that one?
And then
we'll keep running through those.
Then we started a platform for people to market private in-person lessons.
Okay, I like that. That exists
called
now.
Lesson.
There's a couple of them now.
So there's ones for
piano
online
lessons.
Yeah,
there's an interesting one that I'm looking into.
Which one?
I forget what it's called, but they're advertising in classifieds which is interesting, or in job boards, right? And it's just you sign up.
Yeah, that's what we did.
Yeah.
So we had thousands of people all over the world.
I don't know if it works, but I do see people from all over the world in the listings.
Right.
So, but that wasn't sustainable.
Well, you saw a $30 lesson. We make $3. We can't market that for less than $3. You need a lot of like organic traffic, and it actually could work. All of these ideas could work. We actually shut them all down prematurely because we just didn't know what we were doing. Yeah. And the unit economics are actually attractive. We just weren't instantly profitable. And if we weren't instantly rich, then we just shut it down.
Because you have kind of quick high standards at this point where
we don't have any money.
I know what to do this, so I don't have time to wait.
We didn't want to get investors, and so we didn't have the money to seed it ourselves. So
okay, so you did this, So and any more between?
So this
is like a good 3 or 4 years we're going by in this time.
Yeah.
Technology is evolving.
A couple of years. So now we're in 2014. Okay, 2015.
And robo-advisors are coming out.
That's when I met Wealthsimple.
Okay, yeah.
Right. And so we were in their office. It was a meetup, and I learned what they were, and I was really excited about it. Yeah. It was really cool.
Probably when I joined.
And
as a client.
Yeah.
Like, what? Free money? Free $5,000?
It sounded great. Yeah.
The robo-advisor concept was solely brand new, but it was just what I was looking for at the time. It's like, wow, I just had to pay deferred sales charges to get all my crap out, from whatever and into Tangerine or whatever I did. I forget now. And now they're doing this for cheap, and I can take my money in and out, and nobody's holding it hostage. Mm-hmm. What is happening, right? Yeah. So you're inspired by this.
Yeah, it was great. It was great, except I was disappointed that they weren't doing more for people.
Like it was just investing.
Yeah. So like if they were really kind of bragging about how they're getting young people into investing, right? Which is the thing that I wanted to solve as well.
Not bad, yeah.
But when you have $100 a month for the first time in your life because you paid off your student debts and you got your first job and you got your first apartment, like the most important thing is the most valuable asset you have is your ability to make $1 million in the next couple decades, not your $100 a month. So you need to get the right critical illness insurance, disability insurance. Yeah. So there's just more to it. Like, why aren't they getting that advice? Why aren't they getting that kind of product?
No, I didn't get that until I started talking to you guys. And then it made so much sense. Like, yeah, of course, like something happens to me. I don't have any earning potential anymore. It doesn't matter how much I saved up. It's all going to be used. Mm-hmm. So like, the more I thought about it, the more the insurance bit made more and more sense. And of course, a lot of us had it in our work. Mm-hmm. Not critical illness necessarily, but disability and some life insurance in there. So everyone feels protected.
They feel protected, so that it's a false sense of feeling protected. Yeah. The group benefits thing is dangerous. Like the Canada pension plan, like you're not going to retire on that.
People do feel protected with that. Like, oh, I'll be good.
Right. And it's like with the robo-advisor, like you put your $100 in or your $10,000 or your $5,000 or whatever it is, you pat yourself on your back, go back to watching Netflix, and it's like, you haven't solved your retirement. Like,
I mean, it is better than nothing, but it's more to it. There's a lot more to be done. Yeah. Right. So you wanted to do something a little bit more. So now you're revisiting the idea from years ago. Yeah.
And it's like they did it on investments. Yeah. And like no one really knew what they were doing there. And like they figured it out, and that was inspiring.
That's right. Yeah.
And like no slant against them. I didn't know what I was doing either. Like it was just inspiring that I could probably do it.
No, they paved the way a lot regulation wise too for a lot of things. Like they had to just dive in there, right?
Yeah. I think they made it more difficult in the regulatory space because they made some mistakes with what they were doing. So the regulators here are more strict now than most other countries because of that. But we went through 9 months and 500 business model changes to get approved. Whatever. It is what it is. But it was inspiring. And so I thought, maybe we could do this for insurance. Maybe we could do it for mortgages. Maybe we could create the financial planning engine.
Because you knew it had to be holistic. You knew you had this concept in your head from what you saw in your financial planning, financial advisor days?
Nobody knows what they need to do on a monthly basis to maintain their lifestyle in the future. Whether it's retirement, putting your kids through school, getting sick and not being able to work, whatever it is, pretty much everybody experiences a lifestyle decline. Yeah. And so you need to know what to do. You need a plan for that. No one's giving you a plan for that unless you're the richest of the rich. So we needed to build a system that could tell people what's absolutely in their best interest. That's the talk track.
Yeah. But it's true. That's the thing, right? That's why it became the thing that you say, because it's very true and it's concise and it makes a lot of sense, right? Everyone thinks that they know. they don't. And so you already have a group of people interested in this already that you're talking to, you're working through brainstorming?
So I have Scott, who I've built all of those
all of
companies.
these. Scott's been here in the back. Scott is actively involved, or he's funding,
since
or
Weekly Indie,
he's making stuff.
Yeah.
And he's working in the oil industry at this point. So it's like, Scott's going to be just fine, right? And he doesn't even need the money that's being made in this. Like doubt it.
He was making so much money, and his wife is also an engineer at the same place, making the same money.
They're in Alberta at this point,
they're killing it.
And so this is something fun for Scott.
Correct.
Yeah. But you're trying to.
This is
your
thing.
life.
Yeah.
You need. You're like, but it's not like he's not taking it seriously. But if something doesn't go well, it's like nobody's going to yell at him. He's good, right?
So for those like multiple years, Scott's household income was 10 times my household income.
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And you guys, were you always like 50-50 on things, or
on all those, like just where it was just he and I testing something out? Yeah, we were always 50-50
yeah,
on
exactly. Those. And when you put the group together at Planswell, you needed more than just the two of you guys.
Right.
So you assembled your team of what are now the founders?
Yeah, our weak spot in all our businesses was usually on design, because neither of us are super like art people. So we found Michael, our CMO now, and we found another guy who could help out with fundraising and knew more about the insurance industry, and started to build a team of people that were just really pumped up about this, and thought we could make it happen. And we got started. That was the end of 2015. It was a lot of chats about that. Early 2016, we started raising money, because this is one where, like all the other ones, we died because we didn't raise money.
Yeah,
left it to the end
because you didn't want to.
I didn't want to. I never wanted to lose somebody money. I've never lost an investor $1.
Yeah,
that's really important to me.
But what was different about this one?
This is one that we had to raise money. This is like a multi-million-dollar
to be able to do. So you guys decided what you wanted to do to build this thing that is not impossible, because Wealthsimple had started something. Yeah. But sort of impossible because no one had done this yet.
Right. And the technology that we had to build, like to replace the human intuition involved in making a plan, cost millions of dollars. We filed like 13 patents on it. Like
just coming into play at this point, just becoming possible with machine learning, right? Yeah,
it's not even that. It's just the amount of work is incredible. Okay. And then it's called an expert system. So it's a form of AI, but it's... But yeah, anyway, so this was a lot of work. We knew it was going to be a lot of work, and it was going to be like we have to build an entire mortgage brokerage and insurance brokerage and robo-advisor all, and like it's a big thing.
Build it all in.
So we started raising money early 2016. It's going well. I started building a team, and that's 2 years ago. And over 2 years, we got up to 55 staff, and
people would just have to believe. They're just believing you. That they believe in you, right? Like, how does someone get money? It's trust?
It's a very palatable story. So all of the other businesses that we got into, like there is not a lot of people that have gotten rich in the weight loss hypnosis space.
No, yeah.
Not a lot of people have gotten rich selling private lessons. Not a lot of people have gotten rich on independent music. So like there's not a lot of people to draw money from to fund those things.
Yeah.
There's quite a few people that have gotten rich in the financial industry in Toronto, if you didn't notice. So for every one of those towers, there's like thousands of multi-millionaires in them that you can run around to and talk to.
But what's interesting is you're doing, obviously you guys are all doing this so you can make a living, but you're also you're solving this problem, right? And you're solving a problem sort of in other things too. I mean, with affiliate marketing, you're not really solving a problem. It's just, this is money, right? But this Planswell seems different than all of the other previous ones. Yeah. Like you're cleaning people's windows. Yeah. That's solving a problem, and that's something people need. But this is solving a problem that people have been telling you that like it can't be solved for years. And that I feel like that's driving you. Yeah. At this.
It's a meaningful improvement to society. Yeah. But if you like it's always been, how big of a business can we build? How much impact can we have? How much value can we create? And I don't think you can be like incredibly successful without solving major problems for people and really like helping people with their lives. Yeah. You can be like upper middle class, like robbing people with some scheme or like doing some like selfish thing. But like if you're going to really make it, you gotta You got to be helping people.
And if you do decide to do that, there's going to be everybody telling you that you can't do it. Everybody's going to stand in your way, right? Otherwise everybody would have solved this problem already. It's almost like it has to be an unsolvable problem for you to even begin.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be unsolvable. It just has to be,
in their opinion.
Like, I just need to be able to be arrogant enough to think I can do it better. And so me showing up at Wood Gundy, where everyone there is making like $1 million plus per year, and I've been doing it for like 20 years, and I'm showing up and I'm like 24 years old. I'm the only guy in 15 years that's been hired without a degree. Yeah. And I get there and I don't know what I'm doing, and like I'm walking around going like I'm gonna like revolutionize the industry. Like that's like a delusional like state, right? But
it's necessary. It's like you're missing something, the fear part in your brain. The thing that we need to talk about is it's not conclusion, but the current situation of it is this exists, right? Mm-hmm. Like you built this company. And I mean, people, even as you were doing it, even as you were testing and everything, people could have still said, I don't know. But you did it. Mm-hmm. And it's only going to get better.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Well, so you had some funding when you started out. Mm-hmm. Enough to carry you for a certain period of time. Was it time based or just like resource based? You knew that it would only last you to a certain point. How do you know that you're going to get to where you're going to get before the money runs out? You
could do forecasting. It's actually quite easy to do forecasting when you don't have any revenue. Okay. It's just forecasting your spend.
Exactly. Well, this is going to decline quickly or slowly.
Yeah, we had two major financial crises in the last 2 years. Like one was from one of our original co-founders wasn't communicating effectively with the rest of the team about what the activities were going on when it comes to raising funds, and the rest of us were not involved in it, and we weren't like really given access to it.
So leaving that person to do that, and trusting them, and it didn't kind of.
So it didn't work out the way that it was supposed to. Okay. We thought we had a lot more coming in, and it didn't come in, and we ended up hiring as if we had the money because the rest of us actually thought we did. And so we found out that we didn't. And so that was in November 2016. We were in a really tough spot through to March 2017 when we finally raised $3 million. So that caught us up a bit. So then we started hiring again and did quite well, built out the product. Everything was coming together. By around November 2017, again in December, we were kind of like low on cash. We were actually supposed to close on a $2 million round, and that fell through. And then another $1 million round fell through. And
why are they falling through? What did they give you reasons?
So one was a strategic investment where the board of that company, the management team was like strongly for the investment, and then the board turned it down, and that was pretty upsetting for them, I think. And then another one was an investor who had to pull together a few other investors to come in with them, and they really wanted to be able to do that, and then they couldn't pull it off. With the valuation, they weren't able to sell the story well enough. No one's ever been able to sell our story the way that like we can do it ourselves.
Yeah.
And it was our problem because like our mistake, because when somebody says we're going to do it, like it immediately takes this massive stress off, and it makes you relax and makes you stop pitching people. And you're like,
otherwise that's what you do most of the time. You're trying to either raise money or sell the product.
Yeah. Right? And it's an immense amount of work to get a multi-million-dollar round put together. Mm-hmm. So as soon as you think it's going to happen, it always then takes like a month or two of minutia and crap and due diligence and stuff before it actually closes. And nothing's closed until it's closed. But in that period, you're like, oh, I'm not going to continue like busting everything to raise money.
I got to at least wait to see what the result of this is.
Yeah, because you're fairly confident it's going to close.
No, so in those two cases, is it just so disappointing when that doesn't happen?
In those two cases, I wasn't like delusional about it closing. Like I was still working on other stuff. So when they didn't come through, like it was like whatever, we're still working on it. But money started to really run out December, January, February, March,
and
So in those months, we were pulling together like the bottom of the barrel kind of investments anywhere we can get them, $50,000 here, $20,000 there, even though we're burning like $400,000 a month.
And everybody's this is all the founders chipping in.
So the founders, like none of our founders are are very wealthy. So we have credit card space. Like I racked up $100 and something thousand of credit card debt in like 2 months.
And do you think this is a common thing in startups? Do you know? Like,
I heard that Airbnb. You remember hockey card collecting, and you have those like plastic sleeves for the cards in a binder.
Sure, yeah.
I heard a story that Airbnb had a binder of credit cards, of all the maxed out credit cards they had in the sleeves.
Wow. When they were starting.
Yeah.
Because if I remember their story early, they had to go above and beyond, and they would like try to stand out and spend tons of money on this and that, but maybe they didn't have the funding, because you got to differentiate yourself, right?
Well, they funded their company by selling Obama Cheerios during the election.
Okay, yeah. So it's not uncommon, but like, are people freaking out?
I would think most entrepreneurs would tell you that our story is worse than theirs. But
you've already got funding, and it's just like, there must be a thing. Like, it's like putting out a great first album, and then you got to follow up with the second one. Mm-hmm. It's the pressure's on, and we're only talking about this because the money came through.
Yep.
For the second one. We might be having a different conversation.
Yeah.
Right? We're talking about affiliate marketing. You ended up getting how much approved and paid?
So we raised another like couple $1 million in small pieces over the course of like 6 months. Then we just cashed a $4 million check.
Okay, yeah.
A few weeks ago.
From a whole bunch of different people, or
the
like
$4 million was from one source.
Yeah, one source.
Yeah.
And this is you just keep going to different people and telling your story, and eventually somebody is like, yeah, I believe in this. Mm-hmm. I see what you guys have done, and I know that there's a future. It's a lot of trust, though. Mm-hmm. How do you make sure that continues? Like, there's a lot of pressure on?
There's always a lot of pressure.
Yeah, but that's what you like.
There's less pressure once the check clears. Like there's like a moment of relief. Yeah, I think like I'm constantly selling. Like my main job is selling to investors, and sometimes selling to employees and like new hires. Sometimes hopping on the phone with clients and smoothing out like people who are upset or whatever. But
like until now, you've always focused on making sure like that you're making more money than you're spending, right? But in order to build this company, you had to sort of let that go, right? Because like the commissions or whatever that you will get from the products that are sold after the free financial plan, like even if people use you, to be able to provide this free product, you had to take probably the biggest chance that you've ever taken, right? And then not you and just you, but everybody else who put money in. And why do you think everybody really believes in this?
I think like the mission is just like it's obviously needed. I think everyone can relate to. Everyone knows a senior citizen whose life sucks.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what we're solving.
Yeah.
We're solving so that you're not going to be that like crappy life senior citizen. Like that's it's so simple, and it's so obviously needed, and it literally does not exist anywhere in the world. Like I just got back from traveling multiple countries, and this doesn't exist. And so we're currently looking at expanding into like 8 different countries through multiple different companies, and
you just needed somebody to believe in you in the interim to keep you going, so you could grow, so you could get to this point to prove to everybody.
Yeah, it needed a lot of people to believe in us. A lot of it was like delusional kind of belief that we can do this. Like when you had nothing, like it's a very strange. Like there's a Steve Jobs quote about like the only people crazy enough to change the world, or the only people who change the world are the ones that are crazy enough to think they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of great support, and that came through like a network effect. It was actually quite viral. Our investors typically introduce multiple additional investors every time they invest. So we have a great network of investors. A lot of them are like former or current C-level executives from the financial industry,
because they are sick of this, right? They're sick of what is happening.
Well, that's like what I was saying about like there aren't a lot of multi-millionaire private lesson providers. So like no one, like it's not an obvious place you can go get investors for lesson under. But this is like the best industry to get investment in. Like, there's more rich people in the financial industry than any other industry.
So like, do people need to go through all of the things you went through to find, like, should you just start with the big one, or are you taking it?
I heard that it's like 90% of businesses fail.
Yeah.
So I always thought that I need to start 20 businesses because I'm probably not average. I'm probably worse. But
well, it's not. I don't think it's a coincidence. I mean, you've had some pretty good posts about this on LinkedIn. You did a lot. You went through a lot of stuff before you got to this one, and and this is the big one. It's not your first rodeo, as that's what I kind of wanted everybody to know, is that this is like, you've been through this and this and that. So every time something comes up, like a challenge, you've probably been through it, right? I mean, it's fair to say, like, you started when you were 15, 17, doing this stuff with the trucks. Like, does something come up where you're just like, I bet you never say, like, we can't do that. You just try to find a way, right?
There's a lot. Like, I feel extremely lucky that I have a lot of random experiences, and so they get pulled in a lot. Just like today, there's somebody asking about building a certain type of list of data entry and stuff, and it was like we did like, anyways, you can connect the dots between like a business you started like 14 years ago and like this little thing that you did with this outsourced laborer and whatever. Like, you just know how to do it. You don't have to spend a ton of time figuring out new stuff. But by no means do I know everything. Like, I'm definitely learning so much every day.
For sure. And you got a good team and everybody's, but it does, like, I mean, good leadership is important, right? And it's important because people are trusting in you, really, to lead the ship. You and the other founders, of course. Everybody who has their expertise. I just feel like if you didn't have all this, this is a case for taking risks early and learning lessons early, so that when you get to the point where, like, this really means something to you, this company, right? The weight loss thing didn't work out, whatever. There's not a lot of stake there, right? But there's a lot of stake in this. So you want to be ready when you get there. When you get to your Planswell or your changing the world idea, you want to be ready. And I think there's a good case for that in your experience. Yeah.
I think if you ever know what you're doing, then maybe you're wasting your time. Like, maybe you're doing something redundant, you're doing something repetitive. Like, I actually don't know what I'm doing most of the time. Like,
you're figuring it out.
The stuff that I know how to do, like, from all the past businesses, like, those are all things that are done by other people in this company.
That's right. Yeah.
Like, the stuff that I do in this company,
you can advise them on that.
Yeah, that's helpful to teach people, like, off the cuff, like, best practices and stuff. But the stuff that I do is all stuff that I've never done before, and I have no clue what I'm doing, and I make it up as I go.
Always growing. And people are afraid of that, right? People, like, we talked about security, people feel safe doing the same thing over and over because risk has been told to us as being something bad. Risk is bad, and if you do something wrong, it's bad, right? Like, you're never going to grow. All of this is about take chances. What's the worst that can happen? Like, what is the worst thing that has happened to you? Is it this recent putting $150,000 on your credit card, like, financially?
No, the worst. I missed that one.
Yeah. Did we skip over the worst one? What was the worst one? Yeah. Let's just give people the worst case so that they know.
It was in 2014.
Yeah.
There was a business that I got involved in that was manufacturing sapphire to be used in, so it's used in like watches and like when you check out of the grocery store, they smash the can of peas on the little laser thing and it doesn't break, and you're like, no one ever noticed, like, it's not breaking.
Yeah, what's it made of?
It's made of sapphire.
Amazing.
Sapphire can be used for phone screens if you had enough of it.
Yeah, okay.
And they wouldn't break anymore. So Apple invested all this money in this company, and I was getting involved, and I was investing in it, and I was like very leveraged, and they ended up declaring a surprise bankruptcy.
Oh man!
And it was all fraud, and the sapphire they're making was garbage.
Oh.
So I lost $200,000 in a month, basically, but most of it basically in one day.
Okay.
That was the worst I've ever felt.
Okay, but you recovered from that, and how?
Yeah. So if that trade had gone the way that I thought it was going to go, I would have made several $1 million.
Yes.
And I was all in. Like I really had $100,000 to $200,000 and I lost all.
Well, good lesson for not putting all your eggs in one basket. But please go ahead.
Yeah. And so I would have made millions of dollars, but I would not have started Planswell, and I would not have done a whole bunch of other stuff in my life.
Interesting. Yeah.
I would have been sitting there trading my own portfolio. And
you would. Well, I feel like your life would have got a little boring.
Yeah.
Right.
So my net worth today is better than what I would have done had I even got that right, and that would have blocked me from so many other things. So everything you're going to figure out like something to do with your life, and you're going to be happy about it, and then you're going to look back and say, I'm glad all those things happened because otherwise I wouldn't be where I am.
Like, you I guess made a mistake, if we want to call it that. Like I went through a near bankruptcy. You get through this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And it makes you the person that you are. Mm-hmm. And I just want us to let go of that failure is failure. It's not really. It's not like failure is such a bad word, and sales is such a bad word too. And we need to get out of this mentality. Like it's okay to sell yourself. It's okay to do something wrong and learn from it. Like that's life, isn't it?
Well, so I have 3 kids now, under the age of 4. And every time we go to the playground, in my mind, I think, I hope they get hurt.
So that they learn.
And it's not because I'm this sadistic asshole, and I don't hate my kids.
It does sound a little weird that when you say that.
But I hope that they're going to take some kind of risk. I hope they're going to fall. I hope they're going to break their arm at some point. Like I look forward to those learning experiences.
Let them jump in the puddles and get dirty. Let them climb in the trees. Let them
I don't want them to die.
No.
I don't want them to become permanently disabled.
No.
Later on in life, I don't want them to become incarcerated. But like other than those 3 things, like I want everything to happen to them.
Take it to the edge. You took it like probably to the edge of the law when you were doing the truck deliveries, right? Customs coming in and stuff. Yeah, you're right. Right? We're played so safe these days. And I'm not recommending everybody do this, but if you ever take a chance sometimes, that's where you get opportunity. Mm-hmm. That's when you get the ideas. That's when you get exposed to something like, wow, I need to change this. And you know that you can, and you're driven to do it. If you never do it, it's, I think we got over an hour and a half. That's this might be the longest one.
Nice.
But you have a long story, and I think it's interesting, and I hope everybody else does too. So thanks for sitting with me for this long, Eric.
Thank you so much.
I guess Planswell.com.
Yeah, for sure.
That was the 15 seconds of the thing. Nice. I think we said the name of the company before. Planswell.com. Go get yourself a free financial plan, and Eric and his team will take it from there.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you like this episode, please subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you can subscribe. If you're already a subscriber, please let me know what you think of the show. You can email me at bo@bohumphreys.com or tag me on Twitter @bohumphreys. It would be nice to know who's out there and who's listening. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Personal Finance Show. Next week will be the first episode of my Australian personal finance series with my guest, Kylie Travers.